Hello, everybody. Thank you for watching. It's the American Doofus Show. I'm your host, Barry Welsh. Of course, don't be a doofus. Haven't been on live for a while. So, tomorrow night, Tuesday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. on the West Coast. I'm going to be on with basically an open forum. So, any questions you have, they will be answered tomorrow night to the best of my abilities. Any comments or suggestions or anything like that, open forum tomorrow night, live, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 7 p.m. therefore on the West Coast. And I want to touch just briefly, if I could, on EAR, on our concept of ending all racism, and I want to basically just read you our mission statement. So once again, you'll know what this group is basically about. We strive to eliminate hatred and bigotry, to uncover the hearts of truth, and to uproot racism at its core in our people. We strive to halt the pervasiveness of stereotypes and racial animosity within our country and around the world. And we need your help launching this effort. The GoFundMe page is up. The website will be in the comments below or in the description below. And if you can, give a little bit, please, to help us get off the ground. So I didn't do a weekly wrap last night because of the Super Bowl, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl here coming up, but a quick weekly wrap from last week. Friday night, Star and I were on here doing an EAR episode. That's why I wanted to open with that. And if you haven't seen it, please go back and watch. It was a condensed version of the history of race, and it was a version that's accessible to anyone. And I highly advise everyone to watch it, and please share it. Help us spread the word. This coming Wednesday, we're going to be back on with a show about the current condition of race in America, basically where race is at in America today and what it means in America today. And Star and I will be joined by Comedic King on that episode coming up on Wednesday. Again, tomorrow night, I'm going to be live 10 p.m. and I hope you'll join me and we'll talk. Last week also, Chris and I got back together for an episode, and I always enjoy when Chris is on. I always learn something when Chris comes on the show, and I appreciate him doing so. And if you haven't watched that episode, please go back and watch it. A lot of good information there, a lot of things that some people may not be aware of that we all should be aware of. And then also last week I talked about the connection, or if there is a connection, between Grandmaster Jay, the leader of the NFAC, Not Fucking Around Coalition, the Black Militia, whether there was or was not a link between Trump and Grandmaster Jay. And that's kind of what the past week was, and kind of a look ahead of what this coming week's going to bring. Again, live tomorrow night, and then Wednesday night, an EAR episode, Race in America Today. And last night was the Super Bowl, most watched sporting event in the world, I believe. And a lot of things about the Super Bowl. I want to start off by mentioning Brett Reed. He was an outside linebackers coach on the Kansas City Chiefs. He's also the son of Andy Reid, the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. Thursday night, about 9 p.m., Britt Reed was pulling off an interstate on an exit ramp, and he had been drinking. On that exit ramp, a vehicle had run out of gas, and another vehicle had pulled up in front of it to assist in getting the first vehicle off the road. The outside linebackers coach, Britt Reed of the Kansas City Chiefs, hit both vehicles. In the second vehicle, the vehicle that had come to assist, there were two girls, a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old. And both of them were hospitalized, and one of them still has life-threatening injuries. She's fighting for her life. And if you're a praying person, please offer a prayer for that little girl and her family. And her 5-year-old or the 4-year-old sister is still hospitalized, but she will recover from her injuries. But they were also life-threatening at one time. Now, the coach, Brett Reed, he ended up going to the hospital as well, and he had surgery. The reason I bring all of this up is because you didn't hear any of it before the Super Bowl. Again, this happened Thursday night, so Friday, Saturday, and then all day Sunday, and very little was mentioned of it. And in 8.5 hours of pregame coverage before the Super Bowl on the NFL Network, nothing was mentioned of it. And he wasn't arrested immediately, despite the police report saying that he basically smelled of alcohol and his eyes were bloodshot. Now, I'm not bringing any of this up being judgmental towards an individual. It's towards an act, the act of drunk driving that happens way too often, the act of privilege that keeps some people from being immediately arrested, while others in those same circumstances would not have been taken to the hospital for evaluation, but rather would have immediately been taken to jail and possibly not treated even humanely at the worst on their way to jail. But I wanted to bring that up for those that weren't aware of it. And again, it shows an amount of privilege. It shows possibly two systems, and it ties into Super Bowl, the greatest game of sports entertainment, if you will. It's also possibly a circumstance that led to distraction on a team that lost the Super Bowl. And if that information would have been widely put out, it could have impacted gambling even, because the Super Bowl is the most bet on sporting event in the world. So that bothered me because I knew about it on Friday. I knew about it Friday morning, and I kept waiting for it because I thought, gosh, this is going to be the biggest story. And I kept waiting for it. And I kept talking with a friend about it and saying, they still haven't mentioned it. It's an hour into an 8.5 hour pregame show, and they still haven't mentioned this, because this is a potentially huge distraction, and it could impact the game, and maybe it did. We'll find out at some point. Also, regarding the Super Bowl, I want to talk about Tom Brady for a minute. First of all, I grew up a Chicago Bears fan. Where I grew up, the Bears, it was either watching the Bears or the Browns. And then the Cincinnati Bengals came along. And then in the middle of the night, the Colts are suddenly in Indianapolis. So I'm a big fan of the Colts, and I've been a lifelong fan of the Bears. And being a Bears fan is hard, but that's a totally different episode. And being a Colts fan, I was never able to even broach the idea of appreciating Tom Brady. if you happen to be a Colts fan, you know what I'm saying. Actually, if you're probably a fan of any of the other 31 teams in the NFL, you know what I'm saying. But now that Tom Brady is on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, now that he has won more Super Bowls than any other franchise has won, now that he's been to 10, 5 Super Bowl MVPs, even though personally I don't think he should have won the MVP last night. I think it should have went to someone on the Tampa Bay defense, but again, that's another episode. What he's done is truly remarkable. And I've got a friend named Derek Albertson. He won't see this episode. He's a childhood friend, and he's been a Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan all his life, and sometimes that was, I mean, as hard as it is to be a Bears fan, sometimes being a Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan was disastrous at times. So I'm glad Tampa Bay got another Super Bowl, and Tom Brady showed that you can do something regardless of your age and regardless of what people say. And that wasn't about a white quarterback against a black quarterback. But the NFL Hall of Fame did some good things as well during this Super Bowl weekend when they announced their inductees into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The first Hispanic coach, he coached the Raiders to 2 Super Bowls, Tom Flores, the first minority coach to win a Super Bowl. He did it well ahead of Tony Dungy. And yet Tony Dungy was inducted much earlier. They also inducted a guy named Bill Hull, who was he was a leader of getting historic black college athletes into the NFL. And he became a scout for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and basically what was known as the Steel Curtain, the Pittsburgh Steeler defense that won them so many Super Bowls, was basically built out of historic black colleges. So he was the first to be inducted as a contributor, the first minority to be inducted as a contributor. So they're little small steps, but steps are being taken. And sports, art, entertainment, that's where the steps are always taken the furthest first, and the public sees it's okay. And that's what I've done on this show since we've started, is talk about things that other people aren't talking about and say, hey, it's okay to support ending all racism. If it's in your heart that you know it's the right thing to do, you should be doing it. And we were saying stuff like this a few months back when it wasn't popular. Now it's popular because it's been right all along. Now it's just okay to be right. And that's one thing I want this program to be remembered for, was that this white guy came out real early and said, hey, you know what? Things are wrong, and we can do better. Don't have any answers, but I've shown it's okay to ask the questions. And I'm kind of proud of that. And I'm kind of proud of the fact that, tying everything up sports-wise here, that when he first knelt, I knew why he was kneeling, and I knew it was the right thing to do. I didn't agree with doing it during the national anthem, but it drew the most attention, and it was the most impactful time to do it. And it was the right thing to do. So the whole world owes Colin Kaepernick an apology. He was right. And that led me to EAR again. And it's not a black white thing. EAR, it's not about just ending a conflict between the black community and the white community that is 400 years old. Not that that wouldn't be tough enough to do, but it's about ending all racism and about being inclusive. And that made me think about Native Americans. And to me, the most famous Native American is a guy named Jim Thorpe. Some of you may not have ever heard of him. Google Jim Thorpe, Thorpe, probably the greatest athlete in American history. And he was a Native American, so that's maybe why he's not as celebrated as he possibly should be. And then I thought, who's the most famous Hispanic that comes to mind? And the first thing that came to mind was Cesar Chavez, an activist that led to unionizing migrant workers who were incredibly exploited. And then I thought, who's the most famous Asian American? And the first thing that came to mind was Andrew Yang, because of the past presidential primaries and the impact he had in his brief candidacy. But if you really get down to it, the most famous Native Americans are all dead warriors. It's Crazy Horse, Sitting Bull. That's just not right, in my opinion. And just something to think about. Ending all racism, it means that, ending all racism. And if you're out there and you're Native American, or you're Hispanic, or you're Asian American, or you're a human, spread the word for us. Help us. Pretty soon memberships are going to be available. I'm so proud to be a part of this organization, this movement. And hopefully you'll help us grow. Hopefully you'll help us grow. Tomorrow night, going to be live, open forum, anything goes. I want to throw something out too. If you have seen an unidentified flying object, okay? I'm not saying a flying saucer. I'm not saying aliens. I'm saying if you have ever seen something unidentified, because I've had it happen twice, and I'm going to talk about it tomorrow night. And finally, a member of Congress, a Republican, passed away today from COVID-19. It's serious. It's real. It's time. It's past time. If we would have been responsible, and I'm saying we, I'm talking about we, the United States of America, regardless of the leadership, regardless of, or the misleadership, regardless of, if we would have just done some simple things from the very beginning, when we were told these are the right things to do, we wouldn't be in the place we're in now. And we're in a place now where there are variants, where there's COVID, there's the South African COVID, there's the Brazilian COVID, there's the United Kingdom COVID. I'm really curious about this. We have more COVID cases here in the United States than anywhere else in the world. We've had more deaths than anywhere else in the world. Is there a United States variant that's going around to some other? It sure would seem to me like that would be the case, but I don't hear about that. And it's, this is a dangerous time. I never thought I would live in a time like this where I have to wear a gaiter everywhere I go and pull it up whenever I'm around anybody. But that's where we are. And we need to do that until everybody's vaccinated and until this thing doesn't have any more hosts, because it's just going to keep circulating. It's just going to, and we already know that there are people that have had it twice that came down with COVID and then 6 months later come down with it again. Again, Nick Saban, the head coach of Alabama, um, a celebrity, if you will, and tying back into sports, that happened to him. And it just shows us that how vulnerable we are, and actually how connected we all are, because the actions of even a minority can impact the entirety. So something to think about. Something to think about. Thank you for watching. I do always appreciate it. Please subscribe, like, share, leave a comment if you will, and join me tomorrow night live at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Pacific. Then please tune in Wednesday when we have our EAR night, and Comedic King joins Star and myself for talk about race in America, where we're at today. And until then, you want to reach me, contact americandoofus@gmail.com, or you can go to Facebook and American Doofus page on Facebook. So thank you for watching. Again, I'm going to put the GoFundMe in the description, and if you possibly can, drop a few dollars. If a lot of people, 100 people drop $5 in there, that goes a long way to what we're trying to get done, and that's get a movement off the ground. So thank you very much. I love you all. I hope you know that. I hope you believe that, because it is true. And it's a dark world. Try to be a light. Be a light for just one other person. If you can't be a light for the whole world, most of us can't. Be a light for at least one person. I love you all. Thank you. And you are my light. I mean that. Peace. It's the American Doofus Show. I'm Barry Walsh, your host. Until next time, don't be a doofus.